Welcome back to the Martin Smith podcast. I'm Martin Smith and I'm so pleased that you're here. Thank you to everyone that's listened so far. We're not sure where this is totally heading, but wherever it's going to be great. The last episode covered all things Delirious. This time, myself and John Alzlewood chat about what happened next. I went from being in a band to going out as Martin Smith. This is episode 3, Going Solo.
What did you want from your solo career, Martin?
Well, when the Delirious thing ended, I definitely did not wake up the next morning and go, right, I'm off. Like, I've got a plan, I want to make 5 solo records. I actually was probably looking back in a bit of shock, and was sort of, my head was probably all over the place and needed a lot of time just to decompress from that season of travelling, intense, that whole thing. I just wanted to come away from it and just sort of hide a little bit. So, it wasn't like, oh great, Delirious is ended. By the way, my new single's on Spotify tomorrow. I don't know whether it even existed then, but no, it took me a while to get up to speed. And I remember even maybe falling out of love with music for a season. I just needed to come away from it, and as time went on, songs like Back to the Start came, just trying to tell the story of, getting back to where I began, the simple things, and that grew into a song called God's Great Dance Floor, So it came in the end, but it took me a while.
Did you have all the skills, as we've said before, to make music? You're a studio expert. You know what you're doing in a studio.
Allegedly.
Did you ever feel tempted to go to being a backroom boy again and not be a performer? Because at this stage you've got 6 children. You're a busy man.
Yeah, interestingly, around that time I began writing with a friend of mine called Tim Hughes. He's a guy that's known in the church scene for writing church songs. Great guy. He's one of my best friends. And that grew into, hey, can you just write a bit more? And then the next thing, we knew we were working on his record together, and I was producing it and sort of straight back in. But yes, it was more on the production side, and I was really happy to do that. But I think that probably kick-started me again in thinking, oh, actually, I really enjoy this. And, there were some songs we wrote, and I was like, oh, I'd like to record that too. So it definitely grew out of that. But one of the key things was meeting a young guy called Johnny Bird, and we'd moved to Brighton at that stage. He was recommended to me as like a young guy, programming whiz kid. I think he was 19 at the time, and he was studying at BIM. And he came to my house. I said, oh, can you do a bit of programming? He said, yeah, I can do that. And I said, are you hungry? He said, yeah, I'm starving, because he's a student.
Cool.
I made him eggs, bacon, whatever. And then he just woofed it down as, And then I said, oh, do you want any more? And I made him exactly the same amount again. And that went down his throat. And then he's been my sort of right-hand musical guy all those years now. And he's an amazing guitar player. He's a producer in his own right. And so I found someone to help. You always need someone to be alongside you, when you're making music. And he became that guy.
Do you think it's fair to say that you concentrated on the faith market much more than the secular market?
That's a great question. I mean, for sure, naturally that was more my world. All my contacts and peers and relationships, even in the business side, labels and publishers, would have been more in that scene. And especially in America, it's obviously quite highly developed there. So I think naturally, yes, especially when you're without a team and you don't probably have as much courage. So definitely for a season, I'm going to not play it safe, but I can't do that big thing anymore. So, and I think those songs were naturally coming out of me. I was at home more. I was discovering more about myself. I was growing up, I've been in a band for almost 20 years, and now I'm looking at stuff in my own life that I want to address and grow in and da-da-da. So I think those songs naturally came out of me.
Did you miss that more mainstream side? That because when you talked about the best bits of Delirious,
Yeah.
you suggested that supporting those big mainstream bands, playing the big stages, were the crucial part.
Yeah.
And now, almost consciously, you've taken that away from yourself. Did you miss it, or were you recalibrating?
No, I did miss it, and I do miss it. And I think that's a challenge and a tension, is the things that are sort of in your heart to want to achieve still. You're always balancing up, is, how much do I just go for that, and how much do I maintain what I'm doing? And I think it's always a balancing act as well. But for sure there are things that I would love to achieve still that I haven't. I mean, I would love to play Glastonbury again and play that stage and do that really well with my guys. I can't make that happen, but I would love that to happen again.
Okay, so coming up to the point where you're about to make this album,
Yeah.
which I keep not mentioning the title of, when you're coming up to this point, what did you feel had been right about your solo career, and what did you feel hadn't been so right? I mean, what starting point were you at for this record?
Creative people, they're good at doing the creative bit, but organising all the other stuff that goes along with it, press, making the music, the publishing, the label, the legal stuff, that can just do your head in. And so whatever anyone says, you need a really great team to do this well.
Because this stuff isn't frippery. It's hugely important. Even if as a creative person you haven't got the mindset to do it, it still doesn't mean it's not important.
Yeah, and you can make music all night long. Put it out on Spotify and no one hears it because you've not set it up properly, or you've not done the right things to let people. So that's a balancing act as well. So I feel like that's been better on this new record, and more of a plan. I'm probably together in my head a little bit more, and feel really excited about this new music.
Right. What is it called, and why?
Right. Well, the record's called Dancing in the Fire.
First track.
And it's an interesting title. I think that when the pandemic hit, I mean, it felt like the whole world got set on fire, didn't it? And it was just a real shock, wasn't it? So I think that song's about us all walking through the fire, and of course every single person's got their own version of that. Some tragic stories, some incredible, miraculous stories, but we've all gone through that same fire, come out the other end. So that song and the whole record is really dedicated to that theme of, wow, we're a bit singed, and we're a bit, our clothes literally caught on fire, but not only did we emerge, but we've learnt to dance again.
Okay, so did you record it during the pandemic?
Yes.
How did that work?
Amazingly found a studio in Wales. Not sort of just Cardiff, Wales, or Swansea, Wales, but right in the middle.
Wales.
Yeah, like right in the depths, where you'd entered another time zone, We found this great studio, this beautiful couple that run this. They bought an old Baptist revival chapel from 1820 and converted it into a studio. We went there for 5 or 6 days, camped out, created our own bubble, and it was the first time that as a band we'd even seen each other properly in like 5, 6, 7 months. And it was just an explosion of joy. I just cannot say it any other way. It was like kids in a candy store. We just became alive for that 5 days. It's like the lid came off. And I think you can hear that in the record, that there's a lot of joy, a lot of childlikeness in it,
So tell us, who's in the band? What do they do? And more importantly, what are they like?
Reuben Harson on drums. He was 7 years old when I first met him, and playing on pots and pans at the front of a gig at church, and I'm singing, and he's, then he's become, one of the best drummers in the country, and a lovely guy, amazing guy. Dan Partington on bass, and what a guy, great bass player, and then of course Johnny Bird on electric guitar and plays pretty much everything else. Just a genius guy, and he also produced the record as well. So that was mainly those three guys.
Yep.
And then I also took my two sons with me for the band. Noah, who's probably 22 now, and then Levi's 18. And actually Noah played one song on the drums, on the Fire in Your Eyes song, so that was great to see him playing. And then Levi played guitar on a song as well. And then my daughter Ellie also got involved in a song called Our Eyes Are On You, which has become one of the singles.
Is everybody in the band Christian?
Yeah.
Would you ever have a non-Christian in your band?
Yeah, if that was the right thing. I think that, God, my understanding of God is that he's quite a big thinking guy,
He sees the big picture.
I think he sees the big picture. Whereas as human beings, we have a habit of sort of seeing the small picture. So, I'm always open to all of that stuff, and, where we play, some of the partnerships. It's a big world, and I don't think often God has a problem with some of that stuff. And that's why I love playing in little clubs, and I love the challenge of that, and I also love playing in big churches across the world. I love it all.
And obviously there's a Coldplay cover in there, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But is it you and Johnny that's written all the other songs?
No, lots of different co-writers.
Yeah.
I love all the collaboration. There's a guy in Nashville called Jason Ingram, who has written tons of stuff, like with Lauren Daigle. I mean, you name it, he's written a lot of that stuff in America. Guy called Nick Herbert from Birmingham. A guy called Gable Price from Redding in California.
Yeah.
My daughter Ellie. Guy called Junior Gar. So a real mix of people. And I love the collaboration, and all of it was done remotely on FaceTime.
Crikey.
Never wrote one of those songs in a room, apart from with Ellie when she'd sort of pop over and sit by the piano. But what a challenge, and amazing to think that it was all written just on phone calls from across the world,
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shows what the human spirit can achieve, almost doing all that creativity.
We had no choice.
Creativity, yes, you're forced into situations. Now, you may think this is a kind of a softball lob, and it is actually. But how are you happy with this album? Because I have to chip in there to make it look like not such an obvious setup. But the stuff on it is fantastic. There is this massive sense of joy. There's exuberance.
Amazing.
There's exuberance in it. But there's also there's songs that are directly exuberant. There's also songs that have got an almost hymn-like quality too. There's a lot of beauty in there as well as joy. And to me, it seems a major step forward for you artistically. It's almost as if you've found your voice. Not that you didn't have it before, but I think everything that's happened to you seems to have coalesced in these songs.
Wow, thank you.
And what do you want from it, Martin?
I mean, as you're asking, I've never been asked that question, but I think that I've let go a little bit. I don't know what success looks like anymore. I'm quite content. Am I allowed to say that? I still feel ambitious to achieve great things, but I'm not losing sleep over it. And I feel like I'm just in a different season. I mean, how crazy is it? Like I've got a grandson, and that changes you. It's like you know, we used to joke, didn't we, years ago, you know, just pretend you're not married because that won't sell records.
Yes.
Well, you know, what I've just said about having a grandson is definitely ruin any... I mean, that's it, it's game over. But I really don't care. I'm just happy. I just feel in a great place. I feel very, very fortunate to still be married, you know, after 28 years. Mm. I don't say that lightly. When a lot of people around us over the years, it's not worked out, you know, for one reason or another, and they're all valid reasons. But I'm grateful for that. Mm. You know, she's been an amazing wife, woman, a lot of fun. I'm grateful that I've still got that stability in my life. And so I just think that maybe the music sounds like where I'm at, that I'm just enjoying it. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Please do hit the follow button on your podcast provider, or if you're watching on YouTube, click subscribe. See you next time.